Hey, this is Maggie,
And this is James,
and you're listening to Directors on Tap.
a podcast where we sit down weekly to discuss film industry news, new favorites, and what we're watching.
Today we're doing something a little different. We've picked 5 movies from 5 different genres from the 2010s that we think are the best examples of each.
And a quick disclaimer, we're only picking movies that both of us have seen, so if something got left out that seems like an obvious pick, it's probably because only one of us have seen it. Alright guys, so the genres that we're going through today are thrillers, sci-fi films, superhero movies, comedy films, and action films. Like we said, we picked one of each, all from 2010 or later, and before 2021, because we were doing the 2010s. And Mags, tell us what we're starting off with for the thriller genre.
Okay, so for thriller, we are starting with Parasite, which is from 2019.
Yeah, we saw this in theaters. It was very good.
We did, but I had seen it, I think, twice before that.
Yeah.
But then I saw it in theaters. I think I saw it at home, and then I didn't see it in theaters until my third watch.
What was that, your third? Oh, with me was the third watch. Okay, yeah. So you saw it in theaters initially, then at home, and then with me in theaters.
No.
What?
I said the third watch was my first theater watch of the movie.
Oh,
I
you watched it twice at home.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we picked this film because when we were going through films that came out in the 2010s that were thrillers, kind of weak competition, especially in comparison to Parasite, because Parasite was extremely good and is like a pure thriller film. And yeah, nothing really came close that was remotely as good of a film, both in terms of filmmaking or in terms of just putting you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, I feel like that, like nothing with the editing or, I guess cinematography, and even casting. Like it didn't stand out with any other movies besides Parasite. Especially with like these 2 other movies that we'll talk about at the end, of this genre, but. Even with Get Out, it didn't like stand out in my mind when we were looking up thrillers or just thinking about thrillers in general. Parasite was like the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, it's definitely the standout pick. Really, like I said, not much of a competition. Like Mag said, nothing else really stood out. Yeah, so that's sort of it with why we picked Parasite, because it had, I mean, that kind of sounds like we're downgrading it, but in addition to it being an amazing film by its own right, just, weak competition.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen Parasite, first of all, you should just watch it because it's great. But you should also definitely watch it if you like Shutter Island. Shutter Island's definitely nowhere near as good. But Parasite is like Shutter Island.
Parasite won, it took home so many awards. Took home Best Picture, Best Directing, Best Writing.
Yeah, it basically swept it, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
And it was the first foreign film to win Best Picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a good amount of people that thought that Parasite wasn't gonna take home Best Picture. It was a big surprise for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, because foreign films have never won it before.
I know. That was like a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty cool that won. So if you have not seen that, definitely. Yeah. I just looked at the camera.
It's okay. You can glance at it. It's not like we're trying to ignore that it exists.
So the next genre is sci-fi, and for that one we picked Interstellar. That one also has like, it didn't have a ton of competition. It had more competition for sure, but I think this one just stands out because of pretty much everything about the film, like the casting, the editing, cinematography, directing, the storytelling in this movie is ridiculously good. It's
very well done, and I'm sure it helps that you're also personally a huge fan.
Yeah, but
it deserves it. It's definitely, yeah. In terms of sci-fi films, it's classic pure sci-fi. It's not, how you have like sci-fi horror and sci-fi action like Inception.
Yeah.
It's a space movie with time travel. So, well, yeah, time travel. So, yeah, it's classic sci-fi in like the purest sense, and it's very well done. Which again put it in a similar position, though not as extreme as Parasite was in. making it just sort of not have very strong competition with it being itself a very strong contender. So it just sort of crushes all the other positions, possible contenders.
There's like Gravity, The Martian. What else was there?
Gravity and The Martian. I think that's
really it?
Then we picked Interstellar. There was also Inception, but Inception was more of an action film than sci-fi. It was an action film set in a sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a sci-fi, even though it half is. But the other movies, they didn't like stand out for. I think it really comes down to, again, the storytelling. I think with Gravity and what else was there? There's other ones. Yeah, besides The Martian.
Well, both of those examples, they don't have absolutely no emotional core, but in comparison to Interstellar, there's a real lack of emotional core because in Interstellar, there's a huge emotional core to it that's central to the story, and it's so well done. And that just can't really be said of either The Martian or of Gravity, just given the nature of their stories.
Yeah, definitely. The dad and daughter relationship in Interstellar it underlies so many other messages in the film. So when they keep relating back to them, it's hard to beat that kind of storytelling.
Exactly. No one else came close to that emotional resonance.
Yeah. So if you like Interstellar, you'll most likely like Inception and Gravity. Inception, I think just the tie with that Nolan is the director. It's the same kind of, not the same storytelling, but the same style, obviously. And with how like intricate and crazy it gets, I think those two movies are very similar within that. Gravity, I feel like it's just the location. They're in space. It also resembles like the chaotic situations they get into. There's a lot of the climaxes of the scenes are similar to the ones in Interstellar. So.
Yeah, and if you're more of a action movie guy, go with Inception first, because that's definitely an action film set in a sci-fi setting, as opposed to Gravity is just sci-fi. So if you enjoy sci-fi, but you also enjoy action a lot, out of those two, Inception. So the next genre we're going with is superhero films, and there was a lot of superhero films that came out in the 2010s. Everything from Marvel, DC, of course, that's pretty much all of them. But as you know, Marvel's been really cranking out the superhero films, but we ended up going with a DC film. So Mags, what was our pick?
So our pick was The Dark Knight Rises from 2010.
Yep. And why did we pick this over something like Infinity War or Endgame?
There's also Justice League and The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Batman vs. Superman, all those ones. Well, I'm biased because I'm a Nolan fan and love the Batman series, so it's kind of hard for me not to pick The Dark Knight Rises. I also would say, again, the storytelling. The way that they wrapped up the series and the trilogy series was... They just tied a bow, basically. It was such a good ending. I just keep thinking about the ending anytime I think of that movie.
Every time you think of that movie. It was one of the most satisfying endings I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cried. I cried in the theater.
Aw.
I was... yeah, especially when... is that a spoiler? Everyone's seen this. Come on. Who hasn't seen this movie?
Exactly.
Okay, well, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this. Yeah, so the scene where Batman is in his... I was going to say in his bat.
Yeah,
because it's called the bat.
It is called the bat.
Okay, he's in the bat.
Yeah.
And he's flying the bat out over the ocean. And he's got the, what is it, neutron bomb? Is that what they say?
I can't remember what type of bomb. Some type of
That
nuclear
doesn't sound
device.
right.
Was it just a nuclear bomb? Was it a hydrogen bomb?
I remember them saying neutron at some point.
Point is, it was
Yeah.
a big boomy. Big boom.
Big boom.
The big boom.
Yeah, so he's flying this bomb out over the ocean to get it clear of the city, and it's said earlier in the movie that the autopilot is not working, so he's basically got to sacrifice himself, and it's implied that he dies. But at the end of the movie, Alfred, I almost forgot his name.
Oh no.
Alfred is, where does he take his vacation to?
France.
France.
It's a French cafe.
He's in a French cafe and he's paying for his drink. And he looks up and he sees Bruce and Selena
Yeah.
across the way at another table, and just realizes that he's alive and he's doing well. So there's another scene earlier in the film where Alfred is he's basically telling Bruce that he just wants him to be happy and he wants a better life for him than he has or has had. And so at the end we finally see that he has a better life now and he's doing well. So I don't know, I think they wrapped that up so well. It was one of the best endings I've ever seen.
I wholeheartly agree with that. It is so satisfying. Like even if you don't even if you don't think it's necessarily the best in terms of I don't know, you think some other movie has a better written ending, you're hard pressed to find something more emotionally satisfying than that ending. Even if you're like, oh, it's manipulative or whatever, it's so satisfying. It
is
extremely.
Even if you haven't seen Batman Begins or The Dark Knight, I feel like just that movie alone, seeing that ending, I feel like you would
just watch those two scenes.
Yeah, literally.
It's extremely satisfying.
Yeah.
Hey guys, so we had a bit of a screw up. We didn't realize both of our cameras were set to have the 30 minutes auto off, so it cut us off in the middle of some closing remarks about The Dark Knight. So we're going to try to get back into this. Mainly, I just wanted to point out that Michael Caine's performance super elevated that scene, especially with the connection of his monologue talking about what he would hope for that later gets fulfilled.
Yeah. Well, my thing got cut off about him delivering just the look up at the end scene where he just looks up and sees Bruce. And I was just saying that even just the look, you could do that look in a ton of different ways, but just his delivery of even that was perfect.
Nailed it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that was a bit of our awkward trying to go back over that again since we got cut off. And now we're going to move on. So next we're going to go to comedy films. And our pick was Bridesmaids from 2011. Why did we pick Bridesmaids?
Bridesmaids?
Why did we pick Bridesmaids?
So my criteria for picking a comedy was that it had to make me laugh like crazy. And I feel like the first time that I saw this movie, I was laughing my ass off. There was just not one scene that just didn't make me laugh, especially because of the cast. I think they owe a lot of their success to the cast. The writing is great, but the cast is ridiculous. It's Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy. Who else is there?
I'm so bad with names.
I know. I mean, just even those two names, those are two of the biggest names in comedy movies. So, just to have those two in there was great. The way they deliver the dialogue, I don't think any other actors could do it the way they did it.
I'd have to agree. And I actually hadn't seen Bridesmaids except for clips and pieces until recently when Mags was like, you got to watch the whole thing. And apparently she had only seen TV edits of it before. Because you remember the opening scene?
Oh, right.
And you were like, I don't remember this.
Yeah, the TV one is a little more PG.
Yeah, a little more PG. That's one way to say it.
But yeah, so what'd you think about this movie?
Well, should I give my opinion on the PG version?
I don't think it matters. I don't think there's a big enough difference.
I don't know. What's his name? Ken Ham, guy from Mad Men. I'm a big fan of him, so it gets bonus points just for him being in the intro.
Who? Oh, right.
I just love him as an actor, so he gets bonus points for being in the intro. Oops, I bumped Mike. Okay. Anyways, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a gutbuster comedy. There's other like comedy films that are also very good, but they're not really gutbustery. Like when we were talking about different contenders, I mentioned Night at the Museum, which even though it's a great fun comedy, it's not a gutbuster comedy. It's like a feel good emotional comedy, not something that you just die at. Like this is more in the Step Brothers vein of comedy.
Yeah, they definitely have their like quippy dialogue though.
Yes,
with especially with Ricky Gervais. Is it Gervais?
Yes, Ricky Gervais.
I think that's what it is. And Ben Stiller. I think their back and forth was pretty funny. But I wouldn't say that I was like dying laughing or.
And Robin Williams.
Right, Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I think he gets forgotten in this movie a lot.
I remember people. Speaking of that, of Robin Williams in this movie and like forgetting and stuff like that. I remember the last one, if I'm remembering correctly, came out shortly after he died. And I remember my friends who saw it in theaters, apparently he has some like farewell speech in the third one. I haven't seen it yet. And he said he was crying in the theater because he was like, he's gone. And,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he said he gives some type of speech and it's like some type of farewell or like carry on.
Oh, you know, yeah, okay. I think I do.
Yeah. So I have to watch the third one still, but
You haven't seen the third one?
I don't think I have.
Is that the Smithsonian or is that the second one?
The second one they go to the Smithsonian. The third one's or something. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched them, but yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's actually really sad.
It is very sad. We got way off topic though.
That's fine.
We're supposed to be talking about Bridesmaids.
So if you liked Bridesmaids, you'll probably like Spy, which is from 2015. That also has Melissa McCarthy in it. And it's got Jason Statham. Who else is there? There's one other person
Ken
that
Ham.
I'm thinking of. Huh?
Ken Ham in the intro.
Spy.
Oh, Spy.
I think you heard Melissa McCarthy.
I did. I heard Melissa McCarthy and my brain immediately went back to Bridesmaids.
We're talking about recommendations.
I can't remember who plays the weird French guy, but I like him.
Yeah, he's good. They definitely have the same. I don't think the same writing style, but I think if you thought Bridesmaids was funny, you'll think Spy is funny. I saw this in theaters with my parents, and it was hilarious. The whole theater was laughing their ass off. So I would definitely recommend that one. I'm sure many people have seen it, but it's pretty close to Bridesmaids.
All right, we're moving on to action films now, and we're going with Baby Driver, which is one of the best action films I've seen, one of the most fun action films I've seen, and it was one review I read referred to it as sugar-coated action, and I loved that description. What do you think of that, Max?
I loved Baby Driver. I think I actually saw it in theaters like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Saw it with my mom, saw it with my dad, saw it with my sister. I think there's another time too. But yeah, I think they owe a lot of the, I guess, interest in it to the opening scene, because that hooks us immediately.
Extremely good opening.
It was so good. Like, I actually heard that they had to edit on set while they were shooting the opening scene just to make sure everything was right. Especially because they match up a lot of the action cuts to, what is the song? Bell Bottoms. I'm not sure who the artist is.
I don't know either.
But they play Bell Bottoms throughout the entire opening scene, and they match everything with all the action points. So they had to like live edit on set, which was pretty cool. Yeah,
I can't imagine, like, I mean, it was a good idea to live edit, but I cannot imagine how much of a pain it would have been if they hadn't done that and then they realized something didn't cut right.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, bring everyone back in for day 2 when we could have just taken care of this on day 1.
That would have been so bad.
Exactly. So they had the right idea doing on-set editing.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing soundtrack. One of the best uses of a soundtrack that I've heard. And
yeah, like nothing felt out of place. Like all the songs, they almost like connected as their own story.
And it's not like they just went with one genre or style. They went with a wide array of different songs.
They definitely did.
Yeah.
Each song is different from the next.
And they all felt like they belonged, every single one.
They did.
So good on you, Edgar Wright. You did a good job.
Yeah.
So, Mags, what's a film that's like this that you would say, if you haven't seen this one but you've seen the other, that you should check it out?
So I think Logan Lucky would be a good pick for that. That movie. So James, you haven't seen it, right?
I don't believe I have. Max has been trying to convince me that I have.
I think he's seen it with me, and he said he hasn't seen it.
I think she showed me the trailer, and that's all.
I think the same thing happened with Molly's Game until we ended up watching.
Yeah.
Anyways, Logan Lucky. That one has Channing Tatum, Daniel Craig, and Adam Driver. Every
time I hear Channing Tatum, I think of that scene from This Is the End. Yeah, that's the name of the movie. This Is the End, where the one guy has Channing Tatum on a leash, and he's like, "Is that Channing Tatum?" And he goes like, "I call him Channing Tate Yum." It's like, and that's just immediately is what I think of as soon as I hear his name every single time now. It's just Channing Tate Yum. And just him on a dog leash. Freaking weird. Have you seen that movie, Mags?
No.
I'm sure it sounds very strange out of context.
Yeah, it does.
It's just as strange in context, if not worse.
It sounds very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about Logan Lucky.
Yeah, that the Channing Tate Yum took you off guard. Your brain's like, I don't know where to go from
that. Well, actually, Adam Driver, I feel like, what was he in before Star Wars everyone knew him from?
A TV show. I don't know the name of the TV show, but he was on a TV show.
Yeah, so I just remember my sister saying that she couldn't take Adam Driver seriously in any other movie because of him being in the TV show before Star Wars. So she couldn't take him seriously, which I think was the case for a lot of people. But with Logan Lucky, I think the way he does comedy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like, what's the comedy called where it's like, it's not as direct. Like he kind of just delivers it with like a straight face almost, and it's just funny.
Oh, what's the word for that? It's
It's not dry.
What's the word? Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. It's on the tip of my tongue. What is it? I don't know.
I don't know either.
What's the word for it? Oh. It's. What is it? What is the word? I can't think of it. It's gone.
Okay, well, I just like the way he delivers his lines. I think it could have been taken a lot differently, but because of the way they do that, I thought it was pretty good. I also think Daniel Craig, like I don't think he's done something like this before. You can just base it off of the trailers, because even in the trailers he had this like, what is that accent?
I don't remember, to be honest.
It's Southern. I don't know what it is, though. Would you just call it a Southern accent?
I would just call it Southern accent.
I'm going to show it to you.
All right.
I take on any job. I look at it the same way as it takes to make the thing. Positive versus negative. Now, you mix a little bit of this with a little bit of that, and you get a reaction.
I don't know. I'm not that big of an accent expert to know which.
It almost sounds like it's from a Western thing, but it's also Southern. Like, I don't know. Anyways, I don't think Daniel Craig has done something like that before. He's usually he's usually known for his like Bond movies. So it was very different for him, and I think he did a great job.
Did he?
He did.
Oh.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, Directors on Tap.
As always, you can check out our Instagram and Twitter pages at Directors on Tap to get some behind-the-scenes content and updates.
Join us next week for more film talk.